So to start.
All right. Oh, I don't have the clicker.
Well, get a clicker. I have it.
You've got it.
All right.
Minor error. All right, well, hey everybody, thank you for inviting me over to the big Kansas City. I'm going to set this down so I don't carry it all the time. Yeah, like you said, I'm Adam Wilson. I'm the co-founder and creator of Sphero. So if you don't really know what that is, I'm going to start with a little video because it makes it a lot easier, because trying to describe what this is really, really hard.
Sphero is a sophisticated and programmable robot housed in a durable polycarbonate shell. So durable, in fact, that you can stand on it. It travels easily and gives you over an hour of non-stop play with cable-free induction charging. Sphero is iOS and Android compatible with over 20 free games and apps available for download. There are tons of ways that you can play with Sphero, and there's definitely something for everyone. From kids and pets to adults and gadget geeks. You can drive it and build race or obstacle courses. It's even waterproof so you can take it for a swim. You can pick it up, hold it in your hand, and use it as a controller for games like Exile, which is totally addicting. Sphero is also reinventing the idea of board games, so you can gather friends and family around for tabletop games like Color Grab. If you have more than one Sphero, you can play multiplayer games like Tag. Finally, Sphero offers augmented reality games that are unlike any other product.
Awesome. Yeah, so that's Sphero. About 3 years ago, my co-founder and I had this idea. We're like, first of all, if you ever worked in robotics, especially 3 to 5 years ago, you deal with these controllers. They're called Futaba or other things that are giant controllers to control these like humanoid robots or any other type of flying robot. And we had the idea, these things suck. Like these big controllers, these things suck. And everybody has smartphones in their pocket. So what we wanted to do is create hardware where the smartphone was able to change what the hardware did. So you see Sphero up there driving around where the app is actually what's changing what the product is. So it's not just a remote control ball that you drive around. The idea here is that if you put enough technology into some robotic device, when you give special software on the controlling device, like the phone, you can actually create a whole new world where just more apps create different possibilities for your product. You're no longer stuck in this like, I made an RC car and people drive it around. You have so much more control. And so that was kind of our idea. Let's make a product that when we make different apps, that's what's going to change what this product is. And there's been some talk in the room here about the serendipity thing, right? Like everybody's talking about, you got to kind of put yourself in the right position. We have a really, really funny story about that. So we were doing a play test, which is something that all good consumer products do. You have kids come in and try it out and tell us what sucks and what's not sucks. And during that playtest, we actually heard that President Obama was going to be in Boulder, Colorado. And we're like, dude, what would be awesome is to just get somebody up there and get him to drive a robot ball. That's really, really tricky. So you get up to the Secret Service and they're like, what do you have in your hand? And you're like, it's just a ball. Don't worry about it, it's just a ball. And they're like, no, that's it? It's just a ball? And we're like, yeah, it's just a ball. And so, me and my few friends were up at visiting President Obama. He's coming down the line, and we're like, all right, dude, just hand it to him. Just try to hand it to him. And then, we see the Secret Service eyeing us. We knew that it was risky. We're like, all right, just try it. And so one of our employees he goes up to President Obama. He's like, hey, sign this. And what it is it's an iPad. And when he signs the iPad, the Sphero goes down and draws his signature on the ground. And he looks at it, and he's just like, wow, that's incredible. You guys built this? And we're like, yeah, this is our product. So we have this video of President Obama, moving the crowd. Give me some space to drive my balls, is what he says. And so it was awesome, right? For us, we're just like we call I call our CEO. We're like, seriously, we just got President Obama to drive a Sphero, and he's like, he bet me $100 that it didn't happen. And I know there's a few people in the audience who know my CEO, so I took the bet and even tried to double him up on it. I was like, okay, I'll take 1,000 if you want to bet it. Anyway, he paid me $100. We got the video of President Obama, and it actually was a really, really great marketing vehicle for our company. It was like, it opened doors to things that we never thought it would open doors to. Like, now you can go find Sphero in the Apple Store, or in Brookstone, or places that, as a small two-person startup, when we first started, those were goals that we did not think we would ever make. The Apple Store. We're just like, we thought we'd be selling online forever. It's a robot ball. But I think that people started to see what we were doing. Right? Sphero was just the very, very first part. It was like, we're going to make hardware that can control, like you can control it, and it has a lot of sensors, so it knows about my world. and then we're going to make awesome software that just like makes this hardware much, much better. And so Sphero, you saw, wasn't just a ball. And it's made up of a few different things. And I think that these things are like what I would consider the minimal viable product to do what we're trying to do, which is make this bridge of reality. So we have a hardware product, right? When you're a child, you probably played with a ball and you made the game up, right? It's like reading a book. It's like all about your imagination, what you can do, what games you can play. You know, I can bounce it off the wall. What can you do? So we saw that. We saw that people have fun with that. But then like, everybody's falling in love with these new virtual games. So we're trying to bridge that gap. We're trying to make like, how can we make it so that it's not all about just your imagination, but also we guide you in that a little bit. And so Sphero, you see, we have a mechanical robot. Like inside of there is a little Segway device. It's like a little two-wheeled robot that kind of balances itself in there. We have wireless communication. This is how we communicate with the phones. We also have this 6-axis IMU. Now this is really important. I know that you guys probably are like, I don't really want to know that much about Sphero, but there's a lot more here than just Sphero. I think that there's a future to gaming. There's something very special here, so just hang in there. So this 6-axis IMU, that's what lets Sphero know like where it is. It's a navigational unit. It's like, I know which way I'm headed, I know where the walls are, I know what I hit. And then there's a really, really, really important thing that I think that almost every large company is failing at, and some of the companies are doing really good at. It's this API and SDK. So making this available to anybody, right? Like making sure that your product is as open as possible. And like, you know, my intro said, I'm a hacker at heart. I have taken everything apart. If you make a consumer electronic device, I probably have it and took it apart. Everything, right? So we take things apart, we try to figure out how they work, and very, very few of them had an API or an SDK where I could like actually do something really fun with this device. And all of those things, on top of that, you can build these apps. So here you see the little product stacked, right? All the way from the mechanics up to the apps. This is what creates hardware where the software can make it something new. But all of this really doesn't matter to us unless it's fun. So at our company, we have one motto. It's act fun. That's it. That's all that we care about. So, you know, people might say, you guys are pretty crazy. If you go online, you can see videos of us shooting Sphero with a shotgun. Just because somebody asked us one time, hey, how durable is this thing? And we're like, really durable, I think. And so we went and shot it with a shotgun, and it drove back, and we're like, it's super durable, right? So you have a little bit of like product testing there. But like I said, if it wasn't fun, we would have stopped doing this. And we had a lot of other ideas before this ball. Like the first question I usually get asked is like, why did you create a robot ball? And we created a bunch of stuff. We created a little car, and we created a little helicopter, and we created a bunch of stuff. And I started coming up with apps, right? So all right, how many apps can we come up with? And most of those other things, we kind of dead-ended at about 10. We're like, you can make racing games or little flying games. With the ball, we seriously had pages and pages and pages, like golf and bowling. And then we started realizing the ball, if you're good at vision engineering, is like the perfect device to pick up through the camera. It's perfect. Like you can pick this ball up from almost anywhere. It's not like any other product in the world where if you're looking at it through the camera, I can detect that there's a Sphero right there, and I can get a lot of information from it. And so that's what our next move was. We were like, how do we bridge this gap of reality a little bit better? So I'm going to go into this, right? We all have seen, okay, we've all like had fun with these real toys, right? Barbie, RC cars, everything. And like I said, in the last 30 years, it's really been a lot about this virtual stuff. And Orbotix, at our company, we really do want to make this bridge of reality. We think there's like something in the middle. You've seen it with Kinect. You've seen it with Wii, right? There's something very inherently awesome about swinging your arm and like the club in the game swings. Like there is something powerful about involving yourself in that game. And our developers call this the zone of really hard shit. And if you're really familiar with it, it's crazy, right? Like the engineers here, like we have one guy who has a PhD in mathematics, dynamical geometry, and he literally sits around the office and stares up, and then he goes and tells somebody what to write in the computer. He's not a programmer, he's just a thinker, and it's all about what I'm going to show you next. So the bridge of what, right? This is what we're doing.
Today we want to introduce you to something really special we've been working on, and it's called Sharky the Beaver.
We've been working on augmented reality technology for Sphero for over a year now, and we're just about to launch our first game. Sphero augmented reality technology is different than other augmented reality technology in that you don't have to use a printed out marker.
In the past, a lot of augmented reality has been all about introducing external markers into the scene. In the case of Sphero, this marker is a robot.
This AR marker isn't stationary. It isn't on a piece of paper that's stuck on the ground. This AR marker can actually move around and drive around, and you can walk around your entire house and play an augmented reality game.
The reason why Sphero is so special is because we can put this character in your living room and you can move him around and interact with him in the real world, and this has just never been done before.
With the aid of all the extra sensors on the ball, and using the fact that the ball is a real robot, we can actually get a much more robust experience than AR driven purely by vision.
We wanted to make a really simple game that you can pick up, you can have this interactive character in your living room at any time. And we wanted him to have as much personality as Sphero does.
Are you sure you have your driver's license?
He runs around and he really likes to eat cupcakes. So you can flick cupcakes at him, and these cupcakes will actually, fly out from the screen and then actually bounce around on the ground, and the beaver will walk up to them and eat the cupcakes. And he's really cute. It's a lot of fun.
That's awesome.
It looks simple because to you, you're used to your brain doing it so effortlessly. But the amount of calculation that goes into converting a two-dimensional image into some understanding of a three-dimensional scene tests the limits of modern hardware.
It's taken a lot of work to bring out a personality in a virtual object that you interact with, and we're really excited to show this off to the entire world so you can start having fun playing with Sharky as much as we've had making it.
So that's Sharky the Beaver. That was our first endeavor into making augmented reality technology that didn't suck. And I say that with a lot of generous effort towards all the people who've made it before, because we've seen it all. We went and interviewed with every vision engineer we could ever find. We went and talked to people at Nintendo about their cards that they use for augmented reality. And basically the fact that things are stationary in augmented reality, it sucks. We tried many, many different ways of using stationary fiducials, which is what they're called, to try to make this happen. And it just didn't really work the way that this works. And so the cool part about it is when you see that stack, you saw the stack of all the stuff, that's kind of the minimal viable product that you're going to need to do what we've done. You need some sort of mechanics, something that has locomotion that drives around. You need some sort of sensors, something that knows I hit a wall, right? That's the problem with most of these augmented reality things is if you have some character that you're just trying to put on the floor, A, it looks like it's floating because you don't really know where the floor is, which the robot gives us that information, and B, it just goes right through real objects, which when we test that with children, they're done, right? They're this just went through this TV, it's not real. But when you test it with a real robot, there's some magic that happens there, and we've actually seen that happen explosive. It's been explosive for us. We do these kid tests, and they come in and they check this out where, hold on, the ball, I see it. My dad sees the ball, but he doesn't understand that I'm fighting zombies here. He doesn't understand, he doesn't see it from my point of view. And we really like that, for everybody to kind of have your own point of view. As I'm sitting here playing with Sharky or something, I really do get to feel the level is my house, the level is my world. I'm very familiar with this world. And there's a zombie hiding around my kitchen table that I need to go chase out and kill. And that's actually I've never seen the powerful reaction that we've seen, and I've been to a lot of playtests. We try to learn from mentors. I think that from TechStars, that's what I learned most, is that if you don't surround yourself with mentors while you're trying to build this stuff, you're gonna die. And that's not mean, oh, you can't do it on your own. It's just that there are so many crazy things that you just don't see. I mean, every startup sees that. Software startups have their own issues, and hardware startups have a whole different set of issues. And for us to become what we became, to actually, manufacture a product, get distribution, all of the things that we had to overcome, it was entirely because we knew other people, right? We knew people from Fitbit, and people from Siftio, and people from Pebble, and we talked to them and asked them, what kind of deals are you getting on your sensors? Where do you get this stuff? How, and that kind of camaraderie really did build our company. I would not be here, we wouldn't have a product, we wouldn't have any of this if we didn't have great mentors that really made sure that we weren't getting duped. I mean, as a small company, going to trying to find a manufacturer anywhere, in China, anywhere, as a small company, they're gonna turn you down. You're not gonna get the best one, just because they're dude, you're not gonna pump out 10 million of these things. I don't know why I'm gonna put my effort into it. And so we have this really big question, right? Why? Why would you do that? Why would you, I mean, I don't know, it's kind of, we get that question, why did you build a hardware product, put all of this effort into manufacturing and everything? And I'll tell you one thing, it's not just because of Sphero. Sphero is what we would consider our first product, I guess. It's the first manufacturing effort for us. It's the first time we got a bunch of sensors inside of a robot. It's not necessarily all about the ball, it's those sensors and the technology in there, that we could actually start exploring this bridge of reality where what I see is different from what you see, and I'm actually interacting with my real world. And as these robots drive around, they start collecting information. They start saying like, wow, I know how big your play area is. And then we had one giant awesome thing that most of the big toy companies really, really are jealous of. Whenever somebody plays with Sphero, it talks to my phone, which then relays back up to the cloud. And I mean, you have to, of course, say, yes, I'm going to allow this on the app. But what we do is we can curate all the statistics, like how much did they drive? How much did they run into stuff? How many times was the ball uncalibrated? How much, what's the average play area of a kid that is in this demographic? And we started curating all of this information, all about our sensors, all about everything. We made really, really smart decisions. Like, that's the way that we did it. We were like, okay, we could guess. Take a guess. Like, I think kids like this, right? You can play test. Hey, we have 25 kids. What do you guys like? Try to tell me. And kids, unfortunately, this is like the first time they played with a robot ball, so they always say it's awesome. And that's like hard to get over because they're like, it's awesome. And you're like, well, I want somebody to say that they hate it so I can figure out what to do better. And so the play tests weren't working as well as we thought. And then we just realized that we had plenty of information. We were just pouring into our facility. We had plenty of information to make the smarter decision for the next product. And so the why really is we're trying to get to that future of like mech robots actually. Like I think that you need some sort of, I want to be able to have sensors in my world that can like explore. I want to be able to have like maybe a big daddy robot or something that controls these things. And a lot of people will say, well, there's like mesh networking and there's all these other little robots in the world that are doing these things, but they're not doing them for the reason that I want to do them for. I want to do it for fun. And I think that that's the place that a lot of this innovation will start. Like I actually just did an AMA, like Ask Me Anything on Reddit, and one of the questions that came up was, is something ever come out that surprised you from the developers, from the SDK? And it was like, I sat there and thought for a while, because I thought of all of this stuff kind of when I started. Like I was like, dude, you could do augmented reality. But the thing that really, really struck home, we did this Kids with Special Needs project. So we went out there and there's a bunch of children with like multiple sclerosis, all sorts of diseases where they couldn't really extend themselves into reality, right? They're very stuck. They can't play Angry Birds. They don't have the motion for that. They don't have any of the things that we all take for granted, right? And then we go and start playing with these kids, and Sphero is so easy that, and has an awesome SDK that one of our engineers hacked it into the kid's wheelchair. So he can drive his wheelchair, push the button, and then drive a Sphero. And I mean, I actually started bawling when I saw how incredibly, like, these kids were like in the real world, like, oh my God. I mean, that's a little embarrassing. Like, I was just like, the parents came up to me like, it's very hard to talk to parents when they're like, you don't even know. My kid has never, ever, ever played with any toy outside of his like little table, right? They have a table, they have books, they have little things, but they're like, the SDK is what did it. If we didn't have an SDK, we'd have been like, oh, they need a smartphone. And they'd been like, that's not awesome for us. But that little bit of like, wow, we're helping people extend their world. Like, we all take it for granted, but these kids are able to, they drive it, and when it hits a wall, like, there's a cute little character that can pop up on the screen, and it's like, ouch, I hit my head. And that was awesome for them. That's like the first time they'd ever experienced the real world in a way where, like, they're getting to explore. They're getting to see the real world from the same point of view that we did. And that was very powerful for me. Like, we started deciding that products from now on had to have this ability. Like, I want to have the ability to give people an extended reach beyond what they normally have. And Sphero, I mean, it kind of looks like a ball to a lot of people. You're like, it's just a robot ball, it drives around, that's really awesome. But I think that most people who just say that aren't kids. Kids never say that. I've never heard that, because they always see Sharky, they always see these like crazy characters. They see something bigger than themselves. They see something like, wow, this is awesome, I love it. And so it's really, really interesting after I answered that question on Reddit, just to like go back and look at it all, because we had done a lot of stuff. I mean, Sphero is being used in medical hospitals for hand surgery patients, and the doctors are like, do you even know how cool this is? Your website lets me track the patient's activity, so I see that he's using it every day, and there's video games that extend their hand reach like as they're playing. So they don't feel like they're working out. They don't feel like they're having to work. They're just like playing a video game, and I get to track it. And so that was a whole nother side business that we're like, wow, we didn't see that one coming either, right? So it's really powerful what people will do with an SDK and an API when you just open everything up. And it goes farther than that. Like even the hardware is opened up. So if you want to find the schematic and hack it to hack a blender, I do that a lot, or hack other things in our office. We have this, well, Friday at our office, we took it from Google and a bunch of other people. It's like hack day. And that's, the whole company's about fun. I don't want everybody to work all the time super hard. So on Friday, we'll just hack, right? And the things that come out of hack day are usually the things that eventually become products. Like you give an employee, just say, do whatever you want. If it's crazy, I don't care. If it starts the place on fire, like we have fire extinguishers. So they kind of like, people made robots that fought each other with flamethrowers. Like it gets pretty wild. Like you'll just watch our website for some videos because we've been doing it a lot lately. So it gets pretty wild. But again, the why, right? Like we built it to extend people's reach. And because robots and gaming is awesome. I don't know if you can see this, but like this is part of our zombie ball game that we're going to release. Like there are literally zombies on the floor, and I've never seen anything like that. They come around, you're driving your Sphero, and these zombies are chasing you, and you're smashing them. And it's like, if you run into this, they can get you. So there's like a real world object that I didn't program in, which is awesome. Because level design is not a strong point of mine. So letting people do it in their house is the thing. But the future of gaming is radical, right? Like everybody, I don't know if you know what that is on the left, that's the Oculus Rift, the prototype that they're making. We met up with them a while ago, and another thing is we get a lot of questions like, why don't you put a camera in the ball? There's a good answer to that, which is, well, you're driving on your shell, which is you're driving on your lens, so you're going to mess that up. But the other good answer is, we get a little opposition from the female group of putting a camera so low to the ground that looks up. They don't like that. They're like, please don't put a camera in these. It's not going to be awesome. A bunch of little cameras driving around on the ground looking up people's skirts. So we're like, okay, let's come up with other robots that do have cameras, because I think that there is some kind of inherent ability that people want to put on something like an Oculus Rift, like extend myself. It really does like make you feel like you're there, and get in something like a mech suit and fight other mech suits. I think, like when you said I want to be Iron Man, literally, I want to do this, but maybe not actually be in the suit, because I don't know if we're ready for that yet. But so we've prototyped some awesome things like this, some like first-person shooter robots, and we'll probably be pairing those with Oculus Rift in the future. And our entire goal is just to like extend people's reach. Like I can't imagine what will happen if we can do some eye-coordinated movement for children and let them like feel like they're in this robot, right? They're driving around at the point of view of a robot, from the robot, and being able to like reach out their hand and grab things and other things like that. Even myself, I can go and reach and grab that stuff myself, but to have a robot do it from his point of view is like, that's what I want to do in the future. And I think that it's not just for gaming. I think that everything, including the medical world, entertainment in different fashions, housekeeping, everything's gonna have robots involved. And we better get all the sensors and everything right in gaming before we let it go into the medical world. That's just kind of my point of view, because I don't want to ever have this. If you've seen what goes wrong while you're making prototypes, you're like, this should never ever be around a human, ever, right? Like this is crazy, it's going to kill people. And we even just recently, somebody asked us, hey, why don't you guys make a big Sphero? Well, hack day. So we made this like 3-4 meter diameter Sphero that can crush through a wall, literally. It has like crazy power. We built one just because it's hack day and people wanted to see what it's like. And so our goal is just, build it. And then I just want to circle back around one more thing about entrepreneurship and just the mentors and getting help with everything. Like I said, we went through TechStars 2010, which is an incredible program. It's similar to Y Combinator, where they give you some money for each founders, where the money doesn't matter at all. Like if that's what you're going there for, you're wasting your time. But it's that mentor network that really changed, my idea. And there's actually, I know Miha's in this group, Miha Bald, right over there. He actually was one of my mentors in TechStars. And I remember the first presentation I did, and he got up and he was like, that was shit. That was awful. Like, are you really going to present this to investors? And he just like, that's good feedback. Like he told me every part of it that sucked, instead of just being like, hey, that's awesome, you're doing great. And at the time, he saw us go through some of the cars and some of the other things, trying to pitch those things. And it was just really, really motivating to have a bunch of people who cared about you and your success. And like, even if you fail, Alexis has it right. Like, everybody's going to fail. We failed, everybody's failing. But even if you fail, if you're able to like salvage something from your failure, then it's really not a failure. And I think that that's the really important part. That's the reason I'm here to be, available to anybody. I'd rather talk to somebody, help them, look at their business model, look at everything that's going on and say, yeah, that's not going to work, or try this other thing, or try something else, because those are the things that led us from going down making a robot car, which I don't think would have been as successful, to making something that at the end of the day is extending the reach of children with special needs, which changed my life in a very powerful way. So yeah, extend your reach. Just not just with Sphero, not just with this, but if there's some idea that you have that you are afraid to do, like make a hack day for your life, right? Just do it, and if it doesn't work, it's not going to kill you. It's not going to be a big waste of your life. It's just one day. And most products, no matter how crazy they are, can be prototyped in one day. And that's another thing that we felt very powerful about. Prototype it, try it, minimal viable product, right? Like make something. The first Sphero sucked, the very first one, but we put a video out of it online, and it got like 60,000 views day one, and that's when we knew that's what we should make. We were like, dude, this is the thing to make. We had a bunch of other crap, we threw it away and made this. So I think that just reach out, try it, hack your life. And I'm open for any questions if anybody has anything about anything.
Awesome job. We're going to take a couple questions. We got a few minutes, so don't be shy. Don't hesitate. Get up here. If you ask a question, you'll probably be the first person to get to play with a Sphero yourself as well. All right.
So Adam, do we pick up our Spheros at the back, or
yeah?
Is that
all
just
the Spheros,
curious?
I'll be playing over here in the little dark area, right over there. Some raising her hand over there. I'll play with some Spheros. I have some awesome discount cards. I couldn't bring a lot of them with me. It's also GDC, so Game Developers Conference, which is a huge deal for our company because we're always trying to get more game developers. So most of our crew is actually out there. So I don't have any help to sell Spheros, but I do have intimate knowledge about Spheros and can let you play with them very, very funly.
Nice. Well, I have a question. Where's that video of Obama playing with the Sphero? And what did that do for you guys?
Oh, I mean, like I said, that really did get us into the Apple Store. Like we showed them that video and looked like, hey, look, President Obama likes it. And then we got some other awesome contacts from that. So
awesome.
I mean, it's just online, just Sphero Obama, I'm sure.
There's not too many things popping up.
Not too many times, yeah. It's funny, after all of the recent news with the dongle forking issue, we got to be careful. We make balls, we got to be careful. So it's funny. It's our social media marketing girl was like, just don't say anything too crude for the next few weeks. Like, I'll try, because I usually make a ball joke at the end of everything I do.
Nice. I like that style. This guy's got balls. I'm glad it's not a Friday here, because you'd probably be hacking into this entire system.
Yeah, that's right. Be careful on Friday.
That's right. Okay. Any other questions? Yes. Yeah. Come on up. Don't be shy. Yeah.
Hey, so at what point did you feel like you had succeeded?
Oh, that's a good.
What was that like?
I guess that's a good question. I feel like success is a staged thing, right? There's different levels of success, and we like to set goals for ourselves. One of the big ones was getting into the Apple Store. So none of our crew was really that proficient at manufacturing yet. We were just kind of learning that situation. So the first Spheros had a lot of defects and were terrible, and we figured that out. But then the day that I walked into an Apple Store and saw the product on the shelf was probably the day that I was like, I made that. Like, I made that box, I made that product. Like, all of these crazy hard hours, like 20-hour days every day, paid off because I saw my thing. And I saw some kid who didn't know me driving a Sphero in the store just like, this is awesome, Mom, I want this. So that was probably the moment that I was most proud of it.
Cool.
Have you been reached by the Department of Defense or any other special contractors?
I mean, yes, very much so. We've been approached because Sphero also, it looks like a little robot ball. It's fun. It's a toy. We have like 42 patents on locomotion, different ways of Bluetooth communication, extended antenna range situations. There is no joke about the engineering inside of the company. I mean, our firmware engineer designed the Bellagio fountains. He's like one of the better firmware engineers. If you know him, he's Dan Dankinick. He's a huge BattleBots celebrity. Anyway, he's on our crew, and so, yeah. We've been approached by them quite a bit.
Cool. So you mentioned the Hack Fridays and how important the mentor community was, and I'm wondering what lessons there are for others here about changing culture and things like that I'm sure would help attract people to Kansas City.
Yeah, I mean, can you repeat the question exactly?
Just like I mean, people don't think about, say, spending 20% of their or letting employees spend 20% of their time not actually working on the thing they think they should be. What other things like that are we not thinking about?
Oh, that's a good question. I mean, I think, of course, the 20% time is really monumental to our culture and our business and everything, but also letting everybody be part of the winnings, right? Like, I think, we believe very heavily in giving out options for the company, and we pay salaries, but giving people options so they feel very part of the company, I think that's extremely important, as well as we have a number on our board. We have a big number, and it's like, move that number, which is how many Spheros were born today. And so everybody feeling a little bit part of that number helps the morale. It helps people, like, when it goes up, we feel good, and when it goes down, we kind of rally together. So I think that there's that, like, make sure everybody's part of the winnings and part of the losings, so you feel responsible.
Great. We'll take one last question right here.
I'm of the older generation, and even older than President Obama.
Oh, no.
I guess I'd like to hear your thoughts about maybe what experience you've had engaging people, say, in the boomer generation. How do we use what you've been doing to revitalize a bunch of folks who really could stand to be revitalized?
I think that we could try to follow in the footsteps of we, right? Like, I think that something interesting is if you go look up the demographic of we, you would think it skews like for the little kids, but actually it hits very, very older generations. It's a very popular thing in the, older retirement homes. It's a popular thing. People like to do Wii, they like to play bowling. And so I think that we have some sort of DNA with that a little bit, where we can get people up and moving, right? Like, maybe you don't want to just play a video game with the ball, but if there's a way that you can, make videos and maybe curate them and share them, right? You see the Sharky video that I showed? I don't know, I mean, there's probably some people in here, but very few people in here that could take a video of the ground and then put a 3D character in there afterwards and make it drive around, right? Like, so say I want to chase my cat with a dragon. Like, that's super hard to do after the fact, but with Sphero, I just put a dragon on there and chase him around. So I think that there's that, like, content creation that we have that might engage the older generation.
Awesome. Let's give it up one more time for Adam Wilson. All right.